Hey, what's up guys? Joe here, Chemical Guys Detail Garage. Today in the shop, we have this black 2014 Nissan Rogue, and this paint is absolutely trashed. The paint is filthy, it's contaminated, it's scratched and swirled up. So we want to go ahead and use this car as kind of a demo project. We want to go ahead and utilize it so that we can show you guys the full step-by-step process in order, to wash your car, clay your car, decontaminate it. We're going to go ahead and show you the full paint correction, which, choice of pad, chemical, either compound or polish, and type of machine that we're going to use, and get this right back to its original glory. So to start off this process, just like you do with any other car, we're going to go ahead and start off by washing the car first. So we're going to be washing it with one simple product, and that is Clean Slate Surface Cleanser. This soap right here is designed to specifically break down layers of grime, residue, and oils such as waxes, sealants, and glazes that are on the paint, so that when we go for a paint correction or when we go to inspect our paint, it's not going to interfere with our results, and we're going to see the paint for what it truly is. All right, to begin this wash, we're going to go ahead and utilize our 2-bucket method, and I want to show you guys what the 2-bucket method really is. So pretty much what that means is we got 2 buckets here filled with water. We have 2 dirt traps here, which are going to go at the bottom of these buckets. What a dirt trap is, you may ask? A dirt trap is a filtration system. So pretty much you'll see that on one side, you have a lot of big holes. On the back side, the holes are much tighter. So pretty much when you set this up at the bottom of your bucket, it creates a suction so that any dirt and grime that falls into it, within it, through it, it's gonna keep it towards the bottom so it doesn't get back into your wash water. So you're not going back and forth from your car to your bucket with that same dirt that you're taking off the paint into your bucket, going back and forth and scratching it all up. It's kind of redundant to wash your car that way, because then you're just going to be, washing your car with the same dirty water that you're using it to wash with. So what you want to do with these is you don't want to put them in and then fill up your bucket with water. You first want to fill up your bucket with water and then put them in. Reason for that is because, like I said, it creates a suction towards the bottom. So it's not going to create that suction if you don't set it down properly. So now my bucket here is filled with water. You want to dunk it at an angle. And once it gets towards the bottom, you're simply going to lay it flat, push it down, and that's going to go ahead and give it that airtight seal. Now you want to go ahead and get your other one, same thing, put it out toward the bottom, push it down, and you're good. All right, so now that our wash buckets are done, we're going to go ahead and dedicate my red one, just because I'm a big fan of red. So I'm going to use that one as my soap bucket, and my soap is going to be Clean Slate, like I mentioned. Clean Slate is going to go ahead and strip off any kind of protective coatings such as wax, sealants, glazes that are on the paint, so that when we go for the paint correction and we inspect the paint, it's not going to interfere with our results. So what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and open up the spout, 1 good squirt, 2 good squirt, and that's it. That's more than enough product that you need to go ahead and wash this vehicle. So now that my soap bucket is filled, now I'm going to go ahead and fill up my foam cannon, which has already been pre-filled with water. And all I'm going to do is put about, same thing, 2 squirts in my foam cannon. And that's going to be equivalent to about 1 to 2 ounces of soap, which is more than enough to get my foam cannon foamy and get that nice thick layer of suds on this car. All right, so now that everything's set up, the last thing that we're going to go ahead and do is get our chenille microfiber wash mitt. And I like to go ahead and pre-saturate it by putting it in my soap bucket, just so it kind of grabs the soap and it grabs the product, so that when we go ahead and wipe on this vehicle, we don't get like that dry, raspy kind of rub. We get a nice lubricating, gentle wash. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my TORQ snubby. We're going to go ahead and turn on the pressure washer, and we're going to go ahead and give this car a pre-rinse, just to knock down any kind of loose dirt, debris, grime that's sitting on the paint, because we want to make sure that we get as much of a filtered wash as possible. We don't want to have all that loose dirt on there when we do our first wipe. We want to knock off as much of that as we can, so that we don't cause any potential scratches or, swirl marks. All right guys, so now that we're done rinsing the car, we're going to go ahead and prep for our foam cannon. So we're going to go ahead and take off our pressure washer tip. We're going to get our foam cannon, which we already threw soap in there, and we're going to just mix it up. You don't want to shake it. You don't want to, shake it crazy. You just want to go ahead and stir it so that the product gets mixed in with the water. You don't want the soap to go ahead and foam up inside the foam cannon, because it's not going to give you that thick, rich suds. So now that we're done, we'll go ahead and connect that. We'll go ahead and throw this on highest foam setting, and we're going to foam up this car, and we're going to let it lather for a few seconds before we start going with our contact wash. So now that we foamed up the car, me personally, I like to let the foam kind of lather a bit just because we are in a shaded environment. I'm gonna let that Clean Slate do its job at breaking down those waxes, sealants, and any kind of glazes that are on the paint. I usually let it sit for about 35 seconds up to a minute before I start going with my contact wash. So now that the soap's pretty much fairly all run down, I'm gonna go ahead and get my wash mitt, which has already been pre-saturated in my soap bucket. And I'm gonna show you guys a proper wash technique to wash your vehicle. You wanna go ahead and start off at the top of the car. And you wanna work in straight motions. You never wanna go in a circular motion because if anything gets caught on your, your wash mitt, you can potentially kind of, mimic that swirl mark and swirl around the whole car. So remember, clean swipes. You go from top to bottom. You go ahead and do the middle and the top of the car. Just make sure you get nice spread. Make sure to get all these areas as well underneath the windshield wiper. And then what you want to do is, once you've done a good coverage, a good amount of sections, you wring that out. You go into your rinse bucket and you're going to go ahead and kind of push this towards the bottom and kind of rub the surface that you were wiping with towards the bottom so that it kind of knocks it off the chenille noodles. And it pushes it down into the funnels of the dirt trap so it stays under there. It doesn't get back up and it doesn't get back onto my wash mitt so that I don't bring that same dirt and grime from my bucket, from the paint, back onto the car. Wring it out. And then back to your soap bucket. Make sure you get a nice coverage, get it nice and lubricated. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do the hood, same thing. Straight motions, you can go from top to bottom. This is just to prevent any kind of grime that's on the bottom of the vehicle and prevent it from coming to the top. Another cool thing I like to do is this wash mitt does have two sides. You do have the side that I just wiped with and you have the other side. Not a lot of people do this, but you can flip your wash mitt to the other side and do another section of the vehicle without having to come back and rinse it and back into your soap bucket, because I know it does get kind of repetitive, but the better filtered of a wash, the safer wash you're gonna get, and the less of a chance you can introduce scratches and swirls to the paint. Just like that, with one wash mitt, two sides, I did a whole hood. Come back, wring it out, back into my rinse bucket. Remember, kind of scrub that towards the bottom where the dirt trap is to knock off all the dirt from the chenille noodles. Bring that out the bucket. And then back into your soap bucket. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of this vehicle and we'll be back once we're done. One thing I did forget to mention is I usually wait towards the end of my car wash once I've already cleaned the top and the middle parts of the vehicle to do the lower parts of the vehicle, because as you can imagine, the lower parts of your vehicle is pretty much what gets the grimiest, because you have your wheels, it's spinning all that brake dust, grime, all that filth that you drive through, and it gets a little bit more grimy there, which requires a little bit more lubrication. And I don't really like to cross-contaminate as far as like my regular wash mitt that I use for the body and the top parts of the vehicle with a lower parts of the vehicle. So I dedicate a separate wash mitt for those areas, like the lower areas. I usually use a blue one. And like I said, I usually wait to do this towards the end of the car wash, because my bucket that I've utilized for my 2-bucket method on the vehicle, I've already pretty much used it to clean the top portion. Now I'm just gonna use it to clean the bottom portion, so that once I'm done, I'm just gonna rinse out my buckets, get rid of any kind of heavy grime that was below there, and I got myself a brand new bucket, and I don't have to worry about it cross-contaminating in my future. So now that we're done wiping down the car, we're gonna go ahead and pressure wash it off just to make sure that any kind of loose grime gets fully knocked off with the pressure washer, and to rinse off any kind of remaining residue of the soap. All right, so now that we're done rinsing the vehicle, we're gonna go ahead and proceed to the drying process. To do that, we're gonna be using our gray waffle weave drying towel. I love using this towel because it's built like a waffle. It has funnels and pores where the water gets entrapped, kind of like a waffle trap syrup in it, to soak up the water and easily dry your vehicle. We're gonna go ahead and dry it, and then we're gonna go ahead and pull the car inside to inspect the paint for what it truly is, so we can determine what type of clay bar, what type of polish, machine, pad we're gonna end up having to use to correct this paint. All right guys, and we're back. So we finally got the Nissan Rogue pulled into the detail garage. Now we're gonna go ahead and inspect the paint. We're gonna go ahead and use our Ultra Bright Mini, which we're gonna go ahead and use to inspect the paint so that we can truly see what's in there. So far, I've already seen scratches, swirls, water spots, I've seen scuff marks, I've seen minor spots of oxidation. So now we're gonna go ahead and teach you guys the next step in this process, which is decontaminating your paint using a clay bar. Clay bar are designed to decontaminate your paint job from surface contamination and embedded contamination. So when you don't wash your car for a long time, dirt, grime, industrial fallout tends to go ahead and stick to the surface, which can kind of sound like a raspy feeling or even feel like a raspy feeling on your paint. In front of me, we have clay luber. Clay luber is a synthetic lubricant designed for you to use with a synthetic clay bar, such as a disc or a block or a traditional clay bar. What this does is it leaves a nice lubricated surface so that you can easily glide left to right with your clay bar so that you reduce or avoid scratching, marring, or causing any damage to the paint. So you'll see that there's 4 different grades of clay bar. You have a light, an original, a medium, and a heavy. So what does this mean? A light clay bar is designed for light contamination, such as for newer cars or well-maintained cars. That's gonna allow you to easily just glide over the paint and remove light amounts of contamination. Second, you have an OG, which is a mixture between a light and a medium. So if your car is on the newer side, but you're not too sure and it does feel a little bit raspy, then the OG clay bar is the right one for you. The medium clay bar is gonna go ahead and remove light to heavy, kind of a balance between the two, contamination, so that if you have a newer car or an older car that has heavy contamination, you can go ahead and use a medium clay bar to go ahead and cut through that nice and quickly without much effort. And the last one is going to be heavy clay bar. The heavy clay bar is designed to remove heavy contamination, such as old neglected paint, such as 90s cars that have never been clay before, or if you have overspray. So if your car has been to a body shop and you got overspray on the side of your vehicle, glass, all that, that's going to go ahead and knock off that contamination quickly and easily with using the heavy clay bar. So upon further inspection of the paint, we felt the paint, it sounds very raspy. I thought that the medium clay bar would probably be the best fit, seeing to as that this is more of a newer / not so oldish car. It's a 2014, so the paint is in a decent condition. So that's why I'm using the medium clay bar as my go-to choice to go ahead and remove the contamination on this paint. So when you use a medium clay bar, it usually comes in a block. Don't use the whole thing. Cut yourself off a chunk, morph it into like a little ball, and then knead it into like a little patty, such as like you see right here. So that if this falls onto the floor, you can go ahead and toss that out and get a different bar. I see many instances where people grab the whole bar, they go to do the section of the car, and then it just falls on the floor and boom, don't have a clay bar, you gotta go buy yourself a new one, because this clay bar is like a piece of gum. If you drop it on the floor, it's gonna collect rocks, fine debris, dirt that could potentially scratch your paint, and that's something you don't want to do, especially when you're getting ready for a paint correction. So now that we have our clay luber and our clay bar ready, you'll go ahead and see, if you feel the paint, it sounds very raspy, it sounds very rough, and you don't want your paint to sound like that. If your paint sounds like that, you need to go ahead and clay it because you have to remove that level of contamination. So to use a clay bar, you're simply going to go ahead and grab your clay lubricant, your clay bar, you're going to saturate the area nicely. And don't be stingy with the product. Spray a generous amount, because the more you spray, the more lubrication that you have, the easier it's going to be, and the more you have to avoid scratches, swirls, and marring. So you also want to go ahead and spray your clay bar, and then you're just going to simply, with no pressure, all I'm doing is kind of holding it down with my fingers, go up and down, and left and right. And at the first instance, you're going to go ahead and hear kind of like a rough, raspy feeling. That's okay because you're pulling off the contamination. So it does sound nasty, it does sound like you're scratching the paint, but in reality, all you're doing is pulling off that level of contamination. And you can always spray more as needed. I like spraying a generous amount just because I don't want to mar the surface, I don't want to scratch the surface, and it makes my life easier to just go ahead and glide left and right. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this little 2x2 section. Make sure you work in 2x2 sections. Don't spray like half the hood and then try to do it, because as soon as you get to the top half, most likely the product dried up already and you just wasted product for no reason. So now that we've done this little section, I'll show you guys a clay bar. You'll see right there, it's like brown, it's contaminated, you have a lot of fallout, dirt, grime that's embedded into the paint. And since it's a black car, you don't necessarily see it firsthand, but it is shown when you go ahead and clay bar the surface. I'm gonna set that down in the plastic so it doesn't get any dirt or grime. Grab a soft microfiber towel, dry the area that you were working in. Fully dry it, make sure you wipe off all the lubricant, and then you fill your paint. You don't hear anything because it's a nice glass smooth surface. All right guys, so now that I showed you in this little 2x2 section, you guys know how to do it. It's very easy. Just make sure you spray a generous amount of your clay lubricant and be gentle with the clay bar. If you drop it, remember, toss it out. Join us on our next video where we go ahead and show you guys which compound or polish, choice of machine and pad in order to use to remove these level of scratches and swirls. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. My name is Joey. This is Chemical Guys Detail Garage, and we'll see you guys next time.